There is a noise you carry with you everywhere, not the noise of traffic, not the noise of voices in a crowded room. This is the noise inside, the mental chatter that never quite stops, the replaying of conversations that ended hours ago, the rehearsing of problems that haven't happened yet, the quiet, relentless hum of a mind that simply cannot rest. You know this noise. You are living inside it right now, and you are not alone, not even close. Here is what this hour is. This is not a journey into distraction. It is not an escape. It is not an invitation to drift away from your life. This is something far more valuable than that. This is a path back to alert stillness, a state where the mind is clear, present, and awake. A state where the noise does not vanish, but loses its grip on you entirely. We are walking this path together, not as student and teacher, as two people who understand what a heavy mind feels like. There is an old Zen image, a jar of muddy water, shaken and stirred. You cannot force the mud to settle. The harder you try, the more turbulent it becomes. But when you simply set the jar down, the mud falls. The water clears on its own. This is all we are doing here, setting the jar down. Together, 7 lessons await you. 7 gates, each one opening onto a wider, quieter space within you. Let us open the first gate of wisdom. Lesson 1. The burden of dead stories. You have just set the jar down, and perhaps, for the very first time in a long while, you can feel it, a small loosening, a breath that goes a little deeper than before. But here is something worth noticing. Even as the jar sits still, even as the water begins to clear, you may find yourself reaching for it again, picking it back up, shaking it without meaning to. Not because you are broken, not because you are doing something wrong, but because the mind has a habit, an old, deeply worn habit. It clings to conversations that are over, to moments that cannot be changed, to versions of yourself that no longer exist, to stories about who you are, who wronged you, what you lost, what should have been different. We carry these stories everywhere we go, to work, to dinner, to quiet moments that were meant to be peaceful. We carry them into our mornings before the day has even begun. And the weight of them is extraordinary, not because the past was not real, it was. What happened to you, happened. That is not what we are questioning here. What we are examining, gently and honestly, is this. The event has ended. But the story about the event, that continues to live inside you, as vivid and as heavy as the day it was born. This is the burden of dead stories, and today we are going to learn how to put one down. There is a story, old and simple and devastating in its clarity. 2 monks, traveling together on a long journey, came to the bank of a river. The river was swollen from recent rains. The current moved fast and cold, and standing at the water's edge was a young woman dressed in fine silk robes, her face drawn with worry. She needed to cross, but the current was too strong, the water too deep. She could not do it alone. The older monk looked at her for a moment. Then, without a word, he stepped forward, lifted her gently onto his back, and carried her across the river. He set her down safely on the other side. She bowed in gratitude. He bowed in return, and the 2 monks continued walking. Now, hold that image for a moment. The sound of rushing water, the cold air, the mud beneath their feet. The woman, safe now, disappearing down her own road. The older monk walked in silence, unhurried, present. each footstep meeting the earth with full attention. But the younger monk was not walking the same path, not inwardly. His mind had caught fire. In their tradition, monks did not touch women. This was a rule he knew deeply, a boundary he took seriously. And what he had just witnessed was a clear violation. Or so the voice inside him insisted. He said nothing for 1 mile, then 2, then 3. The thoughts kept spinning. How could his teacher do this? What would the others say? Was this a test? Was his teacher losing his way? Should he report it? Was he complicit simply by staying silent? The story grew larger with every step. It gathered weight. It pulled at him. Finally, after hours of walking, the younger monk could contain it no longer. He turned to his teacher and burst out. "How could you carry that woman? You know our vows. You know we are not supposed to touch women. How could you do that?" The older monk looked at him, calm, unhurried, the same stillness he had carried all day. And then he said, simply and quietly, "I put her down hours ago at the river. Why are you still carrying her? Sit with that for a moment." The older monk carried the woman for perhaps 2 minutes. Then he set her down and returned to the present moment, fully and completely. The younger monk carried her for hours, not in his arms, in his mind. He built an entire courtroom inside himself. He became the judge, the prosecutor, the witness, and the condemned, all at once. He tortured himself not with what happened, but with the story he kept telling about what happened. And here is the question that makes this parable so devastating in its honesty. How long have you been carrying someone you put down long ago? Think about it. Not abstractly, personally. Is there a person whose words from months ago or years ago still live rent-free in your mind? Is there a version of yourself, some younger self who made a mistake, who you have not yet forgiven? Is there a situation that ended? A job, a relationship, a missed opportunity, whose story you still rehearse late at night, as though rehearsing it might somehow change the ending? The event is over. It ended. It is as finished as that woman crossing the river. But the story? You are still carrying her. This is not a flaw in your character. This is simply what untrained minds do. The mind believes that if it thinks about something long enough, it will find resolution. It believes that carrying the story is the same as processing it, that the weight of it somehow honors what happened, but it does not. Carrying a dead story does not change the past. It only poisons the present. In modern life, this pattern is everywhere. We replay the argument with our partner while sitting in a meeting at work. We rehearse what we should have said to our manager while trying to be present with our children. We carry the wounds of last year into the relationships of this year and wonder why everything feels heavy. Burnout is not always caused by doing too much. Sometimes it is caused by carrying too much. Stories that have no resolution because they were never meant to be resolved by thinking alone. They were meant to be felt, acknowledged, and released. The younger monk's mistake was not that he noticed the rule had been broken. His mistake was refusing to set the observation down. He held on to it until it became suffering. You have that same choice in every moment of every day. Notice, and then choose. Do I carry this forward, or do I set it down here? Now, I want you to try something small and honest. Close your eyes if you are able, or soften your gaze downward. Bring to mind one story you have been carrying. Not the hardest one, not the most complicated one. Just one that comes forward easily, as though it has been waiting to be seen. Maybe it is something someone said, Maybe it is something you did that you wish you could undo. Maybe it is a version of your life that did not happen the way you had planned. Just let it surface. Do not judge it. Do not analyze it. Simply notice that you are holding it. Now take a slow, full breath in. And as you breathe out, imagine placing that story gently on the ground beside you, not throwing it away, not pretending it does not exist, simply setting it down, the way the older monk set the woman down, with care, with completion. You do not have to resolve it today. You only have to stop carrying it for this moment. And that, right there, is enough. The peace that lives in this lesson is not the peace of forgetting. It is the peace of choosing presence over the past. It is the quiet that opens up when you realize that the story was never the truth of who you are. It was only something your mind picked up along the road. You are not the stories you carry. You are the one doing the carrying, and you always have the power to set them down. We have taken the first step together, and already something has shifted. You can feel it, even if you cannot name it yet. A small lightness where something heavy used to be. But here is what I want you to sit with as we move toward the second lesson. The mind is extraordinary at generating stories, but it is also extraordinary at something else entirely, something quieter, something your body already knows how to do, even when your mind has forgotten. In the next lesson, we will discover something that has been with you every single moment of your life, something you have never been separated from, not for 1 second, your breath. And we will learn why this simple, ancient rhythm is the most direct path home to stillness that has ever existed. Lesson 2. The vessel of the breath. You set something down in the last lesson. Perhaps it was heavy. Perhaps it surprised you, how heavy it had become without you noticing. Like a stone you had carried so long in your pocket that you forgot it was there. And then the moment you placed it on the ground, your whole body remembered what lightness felt like. That is the beginning of something real. But here is what often happens next, and I want to name it honestly so you can recognize it in yourself. The mind, having released one story, goes looking for another. It is restless by nature. It does not know how to simply be without something to hold, something to solve, something to narrate. So it reaches forward into tomorrow, backward into yesterday, into the inbox that needs answering, the conversation that needs having, the problem that needs fixing. The mind is an extraordinary tool, but it is a tool that does not know how to put itself down. And so we need a bridge, not a concept, not another idea to think about. Something older than thought, something your body has been doing faithfully since the moment you arrived in this world, without instruction, without effort, without a single decision on your part. Your breath. It has never left you, not for 1 second of your entire life. While you were lost in worry, it was there. While you were overwhelmed, it was there. While you were carrying all those stories, it was there, steady and patient, waiting to be noticed. The breath is not just a biological function. In Zen, in Buddhist teaching, in every contemplative tradition that has ever existed on this earth, the breath is understood as a threshold, a living doorway between the world of noise and the world of stillness, between doing and being, between the mind that races and the awareness that simply watches. When you find your breath, you find yourself. There is a story from a Zen monastery in ancient Japan. A young student had traveled for many weeks to study under a master named Bankei. He arrived exhausted, full of questions, his mind crowded with everything he wanted to learn, everything he wanted to understand, everything he hoped this master would give him. Bankei received him with simple hospitality. Tea was brought. They sat together in a small room that smelled of cedar and rain. The student waited for the teaching to begin. After a long silence, Bankei spoke. "Are you breathing?" he asked. The student blinked. "Yes, of course," he said. Bankei nodded slowly. "And did you decide to breathe just now?" The student opened his mouth, then closed it. "Did you choose the rhythm of it? Did you instruct your lungs to expand? Did you calculate the precise moment of each exhale?" "No," the student admitted quietly. "I did not." Bankei looked at him with eyes that held both warmth and precision. "Then something in you already knows how to live without your interference. Something in you is already wise, already present, already whole." The student sat with that. The cedar smell, the sound of rain on the roof, his own breath, suddenly strange and miraculous, moving in and out without his permission, without his management, without his mind having any say in the matter at all. He had traveled weeks for a teaching, and it had been inside him the entire journey. This is what Bankei was pointing at. You are not just a thinking mind, you are a breathing body. And the breathing body has access to a kind of intelligence that the thinking mind cannot reach on its own. A quieter intelligence, an older one that does not need to analyze or conclude or solve. It only needs to be felt. Now I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer it not with your thoughts, but with your direct experience. Right now, in this moment, where is your breath? Not where you think it should be. Where is it actually? Is it shallow, sitting high in your chest? Is it tight, as though something is pressing down on it? Or has it, in these past few minutes, begun to slow and deepen on its own? Just notice, no judgment, only honest observation. Because here is what the modern world does to the breath, and most of us have no idea it is happening. Stress shortens the breath, not dramatically, not in a way you would easily notice. It simply lifts it higher in the chest, makes it quicker and more shallow, keeps the body in a state of low-level alertness that never fully resolves. Day after day, meeting after meeting, notification after notification, the breath stays up there, small, tight, efficient, ready for the next emergency, and the nervous system receives that signal continuously. It hears the short breath and concludes, "Something is wrong. Stay alert. Do not rest." Keep scanning. You are not anxious because your life is inherently dangerous. You are often anxious because your body is receiving a signal from your own breath that tells it to remain on guard. The breath is not just a reflection of your internal state, it is a creator of it. And this means something extraordinary. It means you have direct access, right now, to a tool that can shift your entire nervous system from the state of doing into the state of being, from high alert into quiet presence, not through thinking about it, through breathing it. This is the Quatre du Quatre technique, simple, ancient in its essence, supported by everything modern neuroscience has learned about the vagus nerve, the parasympathetic system, and the body's natural pathways to calm. Here is how it works. Find a comfortable position. Let your hands rest open in your lap, palms facing upward. This is a small gesture of receptivity, of willingness to receive rather than to grip. Now breathe in through your nose, slowly and fully, for a count of 4. Let the breath travel down past the chest and into the belly. Feel the belly expand. Feel the ribs widen. Breathe in as though you are drawing in something that nourishes you, because you are. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold. Not with tension, with stillness. For a count of 2, this is not the holding of someone bracing for impact. This is the holding of someone standing at the top of a mountain, simply taking in the view before the next step. 1, 2. Now exhale through your mouth, slowly and completely, for a count of 4. Let the breath fall out of you. Do not push it. Let it go the way a leaf releases from a branch. Naturally, without force, without resistance. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 1 cycle. Let us do it again, and this time, bring your full attention to the exhale. The exhale is where release lives. The exhale is where the nervous system receives its clearest message. You are safe. You can let go. You do not have to hold everything so tightly. Breathe in for 4, hold for 2, release for 4, and again. With each cycle, something begins to shift. It is subtle at first. A small softening in the shoulders, a loosening in the jaw, a sense of the room becoming slightly larger, the air slightly cleaner. This is not your imagination. This is your body remembering its own natural state. The state it was always meant to return to, again and again, between the storms. You are not doing this to the body. You are reminding the body of what it already knows. Do 3 more cycles on your own now, in your own rhythm, keeping the ratio of 4, 2, 4. And as you breathe, let the thoughts pass. You do not need to chase them or dismiss them. Simply return, every time, to the breath. The breath is always here. It is always now. It cannot exist in the past or the future. And so when you follow it, you are brought, effortlessly, into the only moment that is real. This one, the piece of this lesson, is not complicated. It is not philosophical. It lives in the body, in the rhythm, in the quiet space between the inhale and the exhale where the mind goes still without being told to. You have a bridge now. Whenever the noise returns, whenever the stories start to gather, you do not need to fight them. You only need to find your breath, and the breath will bring you home. Carry this with you as we continue, but I want to prepare you gently for what comes next, because there will be moments in life, and perhaps you are living through one right now, where even the breath feels insufficient, where the noise comes not from your own mind, but from circumstances outside your control, from other people, from situations that simply will not bend to your wishes, no matter how calmly you breathe through them. In the next lesson, we will meet one of the most liberating teachings Zen has ever offered. A teaching about a boat on a river, about what happens when we stop fighting the current, and about the profound, unexpected peace that waits for us on the other side of control. Lesson 3. The boundary of control. Notice what has happened in the last 2 lessons. You set down a story that was never yours to carry forever, and you found a bridge made entirely of breath that returns you to the present moment whenever the mind begins its restless wandering. These are not small things. They are the foundation of everything we are building together here. But I want to be honest with you now. There is a particular kind of suffering that the breath cannot reach, that no amount of releasing stories can fully dissolve, a suffering that lives not in the past, but in the present, in the gap between the way things are and the way you believe they should be. You know this feeling. It is the tightness in your chest when a situation at work spins out in a direction you did not want and cannot reverse. It is the exhaustion of trying to manage how someone else feels, what someone else does, what someone else chooses. It is the sleepless night spent planning every possible outcome of something that has not happened yet, as though thinking about it hard enough might give you dominion over it. It is the suffering of a person who is gripping the wheel of a car they are not driving. And almost all of us do this. Almost all of the time. We were never taught the difference between what belongs to us and what does not, between what is genuinely within our power and what exists entirely outside of it. And so, we reach for everything. We try to control the weather of other people's moods, the tide of circumstance, the current of a river that was moving long before we arrived and will continue long after we have gone. The Zen tradition has a story for this, quiet and precise and devastating in the way only the simplest truths can be. Imagine a river in ancient China, wide and unhurried, the color of pewter in the early morning light. Mist rising from the surface in slow, soft columns. The sound of water moving over stone, continuous and indifferent, and somehow deeply peaceful. A fisherman was out on the river before dawn. He had taken his small wooden boat out alone, as he often did, letting the current carry him gently downstream while the world was still and dark and cold. Then, out of the mist, he felt it. A collision. Another boat had drifted into his, knocking him sideways, sending water sloshing over the side. The fisherman's anger rose instantly and completely. He steadied himself and turned, mouth already open, words already forming, sharp and ready. But when he looked across the water, he saw that the other boat was empty. No one at the oars, no one to blame, just a boat that had come loose from its mooring somewhere upstream, drifting with the current, following the river wherever it chose to lead. The fisherman sat there in the rocking silence. His anger, which had been so certain of its target just a moment before, had nowhere to go. It rose, and then, slowly, simply dissolved back into the morning mist. He took a breath. He felt the cold air. He heard the river. He pushed the empty boat aside with one hand and continued on his way. Now, sit with that image for a moment. The empty boat, the anger that found no target and therefore found no home. The fisherman, returning to himself, returning to the river, returning to the morning as it actually was. The Zen teacher Zhuangzi, who first told this story, was pointing at something that most of us spend enormous amounts of energy missing. So much of what collides with us in life is an empty boat. The colleague who speaks sharply in a meeting is not targeting you. They are a boat adrift in their own current of pressure, fear, and exhaustion. The friend who does not respond to your message is not punishing you. They are lost somewhere in their own river. The traffic, the delay, the plan that fell apart, the outcome that refused to cooperate with your expectations. Empty boats, every one of them, but we treat them as though there is a captain, as though someone, somewhere, is steering these things deliberately toward us, and we spend our precious energy shouting at vessels that carry no one. Here is the question that can change everything, and I want you to carry it with you for the rest of this journey. When something happens that disturbs your peace, before you react, before you tighten, before you begin the exhausting work of trying to change it or control it or make it mean something about you, simply ask yourself this: does this truly depend on me? Not whether it affects you. It may affect you deeply, not whether it matters. It may matter enormously. But does the resolution of this, the outcome of this, the behavior at the center of this, does it genuinely belong to your power to change? If it does, then act, clearly, calmly, without drama. If it does not, then the only sane and compassionate thing you can do, for yourself and for everyone involved, is to release your grip on it. This is what the ancient Taoists called Wu Wei. It is one of the most misunderstood concepts in Eastern philosophy, and I want to offer it to you plainly. Wu Wei does not mean passivity. It does not mean resignation. It does not mean floating through life without agency or intention. Wu Wei means action without friction, engagement without the exhausting overlay of force. Think of water. Water does not fight the riverbank. It does not argue with the boulder sitting in its path. It does not hold meetings about the most efficient way to overcome the obstacle. It simply moves around it, or through it, or underneath it, following the line of least resistance, and in doing so, over time, it shapes mountains. Water is not weak. It is the most patient and persistent force in nature. Wu Wei is learning to move like water, to respond to what is actually in front of you rather than what you wished were in front of you, to stop spending your energy fighting the current and instead learn to read it, move with it, navigate it with skill and presence. I want you to take a moment here. A genuine pause. Think of one situation in your life right now that is costing you significant energy, something you have been pushing against, managing, worrying over, trying to control. Hold it gently in your awareness, and now ask, slowly and honestly, which parts of this truly depend on me, and which parts are simply the river doing what rivers do. You do not have to answer perfectly. You only have to ask sincerely, because the moment you begin to distinguish between what is yours and what is not, something remarkable happens. The burden redistributes. What was pressing on your entire chest settles into a much smaller, more manageable space. The part that is truly yours, and the rest, the vast and uncontrollable rest, you begin, slowly, to release back to the river. Here is a simple practice to anchor this lesson in the body. The next time you feel yourself gripping, tightening around a situation or an outcome, place one hand flat on your chest. Feel your heartbeat, real, present, undeniable. Then take one slow breath, using the 4-2-4 rhythm you learned in the last lesson. And on the exhale, silently ask the question, does this truly depend on me? If the answer is yes, open your eyes fully and take one clear, calm action. If the answer is no, let the hand on your chest feel the heartbeat beneath it and consciously soften your grip, not because it does not matter, but because holding tightly to what you cannot change is like wrapping your hands around smoke. It exhausts you completely and captures nothing. You are learning to navigate, not to dominate, to move with intelligence through the currents of life rather than planting your feet on the riverbed and demanding the water stop. This is a form of courage that the modern world rarely celebrates. The courage to release, the courage to trust, the courage to distinguish between the boats that need your hand on the oar and the boats that were always empty. The peace available in this lesson is a quiet and sturdy one. It does not make life simpler. It makes you steadier inside the complexity of it. And steadiness, you are discovering, is built one lesson at a time. But here is what I want you to consider as we move forward together. Even a steady person standing calmly on the riverbank can be overwhelmed if they believe that every thought passing through their mind is the truth. If they fuse with the commentary, the judgment, the endless narration of a mind that never stops producing content. In the next lesson, we are going to create some distance between you and the voice inside your head, and you may discover something both surprising and deeply liberating, that you are not the voice you never were. You are something far quieter, far more spacious, and far more at peace than any thought your mind has ever produced. Lesson 4. The Watcher on the Hill. Something is already shifting in you. You may not have words for it yet, but it is there, a quality of spaciousness that was not as accessible when we first began, a small but meaningful gap between the noise and your response to it, between what happens and what you make of it. We put down a story that was not ours to carry forever. We found the breath as a bridge back to the present. We learned to ask, with genuine honesty, what truly belongs to us and what belongs to the river. And now we arrive at perhaps the most quietly revolutionary lesson of this entire journey, because everything we have done so far has been preparation for this question, a question so simple it may seem almost too obvious to be important. Who is the one doing all of this noticing? When you observed the stories your mind was carrying, something in you saw them. When you followed the breath, something in you was aware of the following. When you asked whether a situation truly depended on you, something in you was calm enough to ask, what is that something? It is not a thought. Because you can observe your thoughts, and you cannot observe something with itself. A knife cannot cut itself. An eye cannot see itself looking. It is not an emotion. Because emotions rise and fall inside you, and whatever you are, you remain when they have passed. It is not the voice in your head. Because you can hear that voice, which means something in you stands apart from it, listening. This is what the Zen tradition calls the watcher, the witness, the awareness that is always present, always clear, and never once lost in the storm, even when you believed you were. And understanding this, truly feeling it rather than simply thinking about it, changes everything. There is a story from the Tang dynasty in ancient China. A young monk named Huineng had come to study under a great Zen master. He was not yet learned. He could not read the sutras or debate the philosophy. He worked in the kitchen, grinding grain, preparing food, doing the simple work no one else wanted. One day, the master announced that he would pass on his teachings to whoever could demonstrate true understanding. Students were invited to write a verse expressing the nature of mind. The head monk, a brilliant scholar, wrote on the wall of the monastery. He wrote that the mind is like a bright mirror, always in need of polishing, always at risk of gathering dust. The monastery was filled with admiration. Surely this was the one. But Huineng, who could not read, asked someone to read the verse to him. He stood in the corridor for a long while in silence. Then he asked someone to write his response beside the original. His verse said this: "There is no mirror. There is no stand on which it rests. Since originally there is not a single thing, where could dust alight?" The master read it. He said nothing publicly, but that night he summoned Huineng and gave him his robe and his bowl, the signs of transmission. Huineng had understood something the scholar had not. The scholar believed the mind was a thing that needed constant maintenance, something that could be polluted, corrupted, lost, and therefore something that needed vigilant, effortful, endless polishing. Huineng understood that the awareness itself, the pure witnessing presence, is not a thing at all. It cannot gather dust. It cannot be corrupted. It was never born and therefore cannot die. It does not need polishing because it was never dull. It is the screen, not the movie. Think about that image carefully. When you sit in a cinema, the screen never moves. Storms rage across it. Faces fill with anguish or joy. Explosions light it from corner to corner. And through all of it, the screen itself remains completely unchanged, completely still. not affected by a single frame of what passes across its surface. The movie ends. The lights come on, and the screen is exactly as it was before the first image appeared. You are the screen. Your thoughts are the movie, vivid, compelling, sometimes terrifying, sometimes beautiful, but passing, always passing, and never, not for a single moment, touching the awareness in which they appear. This is not a metaphor designed to make you feel better. This is a direct description of your actual experience, if you are willing to look at it honestly. Right now, in this moment, there are thoughts moving through your awareness. Maybe a question about whether this is true. Maybe a memory that surfaced from something said earlier. Maybe a planning thought, a judgment, a sensation in the body that the mind is already turning into a commentary. Notice all of it. And then, notice what is noticing. That noticing itself, that simple, clear, effortless awareness. Does it have a problem right now? Does it feel anxious? Is it overwhelmed? Is it tired? Or is it simply here? Quiet. Present. This is the watcher on the hill, high enough to see everything, far enough to be touched by nothing. Always there, even when you forgot to look for it. The reason this matters so deeply for modern life is this. We live in an age of total identification. We believe we are our thoughts. We believe that what the voice in our head says is true, is who we are, is the final word on our worth, our capability, our future. When the mind says you are failing, you feel you are failing. When it says you are not enough, you experience yourself as not enough. When it catastrophizes, you live inside the catastrophe as though it were already real. This is not a small problem. This is the central source of almost all psychological suffering in the modern world. Not the thoughts themselves, but the complete, unquestioned identification with them. The practice of this lesson is called mental labeling, and it is precisely what it sounds like. Simple, gentle, and extraordinarily powerful when applied with patience. Here is how it works. As you sit here, simply begin to notice your thoughts as they arise. And instead of following them, instead of engaging with their content, simply name the category they belong to. A thought about tomorrow's meeting arrives. You do not plan the meeting. You simply note, quietly and neutrally, planning. A thought about a difficult conversation resurfaces. You do not re-enter the conversation. You simply note, remembering. A feeling of unease rises in the chest. You do not investigate it or amplify it. You note discomfort, an urge to check your phone, to move, to do something rather than simply be here. You note restlessness. That is all. A single word. A gentle label. Applied not with judgment, but with the calm curiosity of a scientist observing weather patterns from a hilltop. The label does something remarkable. It creates distance. The moment you name a thought, you are no longer inside it, you are looking at it. And the moment you are looking at it, you have remembered something essential, that there is a you who is doing the looking. The thought is the cloud. You are the sky. The thought is the wave. You are the ocean. The thought is the movie. You are the screen. Try it now, wherever you are, whatever is moving through your mind at this moment. Take one easy breath and simply notice the next thought that arises. Do not follow it. Just name it. One word. Then let it pass. And notice what remains when it does. That which remains is not nothing. It is the most important thing. It is the awareness that has been here all along, steady and clear, watching everything without being lost in anything. This is your most natural state, Not striving, not analyzing, not fixing, just this, awake, present, undisturbed. The peace of this lesson is not something you create. It is something you uncover, layer by layer, thought by thought, label by label, until the watcher on the hill becomes not a practice but a recognition. Until you know, with the quiet certainty of direct experience, that you are not the storm. You have never been the storm. You are the vast and unchanging sky in which every storm eventually dissolves. Carry that with you now as we move forward, because the next lesson meets us at a place where the watcher is tested most directly, not by the storms of thought, but by the circumstances of life itself. The situations that arrive without invitation, that refuse to be labeled away, that demand something far more courageous than observation. They demand acceptance, not the defeated, reluctant acceptance of someone who has given up, but the radical, clear-eyed, deeply powerful acceptance of someone who has finally stopped arguing with reality. In the next lesson, we will meet a farmer who understood this completely, and whose simple wisdom has the power to dissolve years of unnecessary resistance in a single, quiet breath. Lesson 5. The harmony of as it is. You have been doing something quietly remarkable. Lesson by lesson, you have been loosening the grip on old stories, the grip on the breath you forgot you had, the grip on circumstances that were never yours to control. And in the last lesson, you discovered something even more fundamental, that the one doing all the gripping, the anxious, effortful, exhausted manager of everything, is not actually who you are. You are the watcher, the sky, the screen, and from that elevated, spacious place, something becomes possible that was not possible before. You can finally look at your life, at this moment, at this circumstance, at this particular configuration of things that you did not ask for and perhaps do not want, and meet it without flinching, not with resignation, not with the hollow smile of someone pretending everything is fine when it clearly is not, but with something rarer and far more powerful than either of those. With clear, steady, open-eyed acceptance of what is. This is the lesson that the modern world has the most difficulty with. Because we live inside a culture that is addicted to the word should. This should not be happening. Things should be further along by now. I should be over this already. They should have behaved differently. Life should have turned out closer to what I imagined. Should. It is a small word. Just 6 letters. And it is responsible for an extraordinary amount of human suffering. Because every time you place the word should between yourself and reality, you create friction, a gap between what is and what you have decided ought to be. And that gap is not neutral, it is charged. It pulls at you continuously, draining energy you could be using to actually live, to actually respond, to actually move forward. The Zen tradition has a word for the alternative, tathata, often translated as thusness or suchness. It means meeting reality exactly as it presents itself, without the overlay of judgment, without the argument, without the exhausting insistence that things be other than they are. It does not mean passivity. It does not mean you stop caring or stop acting or stop wanting things to improve. It means you stop paying the enormous tax of resistance, and with the energy you save, you become far more capable of responding to life with wisdom and clarity. There is a story that has traveled through centuries precisely because it captures this truth so cleanly. In a small village at the edge of a forest, there lived an old farmer. His life was neither easy nor particularly hard. It was simply a life. Seasons of labor and rest, abundance and scarcity, as most lives are when lived honestly and close to the earth. One morning, his only horse broke through the fence and ran away into the hills. His neighbors gathered, as neighbors in small villages always do when misfortune arrives. "What terrible luck," they said, "to lose your only horse. How will you manage?" The farmer looked out toward the hills where the horse had gone. The morning light was pale gold on the grass. A bird moved through the silence overhead. "Maybe," he said quietly. "Maybe." 3 days later, the horse returned. And it did not return alone. It brought with it 2 wild horses from the hills, strong and beautiful, moving through the broken fence and into the yard as though they had always intended to arrive. The neighbors came again. "What extraordinary luck," they said. "You lost 1 horse and gained 3. You are a fortunate man." The farmer watched the horses settle. He listened to the sound of their breathing, the soft percussion of their hooves on dry ground. "Maybe," he said. "Maybe." That same week, his son, attempting to break one of the wild horses, was thrown. He landed badly and broke his leg in 2 places. The injury was serious. The recovery would be long. The neighbors returned, their faces heavy with concern. "What terrible luck," they said. "Your son, your only help on the farm, laid up for months. How will you manage the harvest?" The old farmer sat beside his son, whose leg was bound and elevated, whose face was pale but calm. "Maybe," he said softly. "Maybe." 2 weeks later, the emperor's army came through the village. They were conscripting young men for a war in a distant province, a brutal campaign. Many would not return. They took every able-bodied young man they could find. They did not take the farmer's son. His broken leg had saved his life. The neighbors, chastened and quiet, said nothing this time. There was nothing left to say. And the old farmer, sitting in the last of the afternoon light with his son healing beside him, simply watched the soldiers disappear down the road. "Maybe," he might have whispered, though no one was there to hear it now. Maybe. Sit with this story for a moment, not with your analytical mind, with your whole body. Feel the truth of it. How many times in your own life has something you labeled as bad luck turned out to be, in some way you could not have predicted, the very thing that redirected you towards something necessary? How many endings were actually disguised beginnings? How many losses created space for something that could not have arrived if the old thing had stayed? You do not know the full story of your life yet. You are living inside it. The farmer knew this. His maybe was not indifference. It was profound epistemic humility. The recognition that his judgment of any single event, made in the moment, from inside the story, was always incomplete. This is what radical acceptance actually means. Not that you approve of everything that happens. Not that you pretend pain is not painful, or loss is not loss. It means you stop insisting you know the final meaning of something that has not finished revealing itself yet. Here is the reflective question I want to offer you now, and I want you to take your time with it. Is there something in your life right now that you have been labeling with absolute certainty as bad, as wrong, as something that should not have happened? Hold it in your awareness gently. And then ask, with the farmer's quiet humility, do I know the full story of this yet? Maybe you do. And maybe you do not. There is a particular word that lives at the center of so much modern distress. We have touched it already, the word should. And I want to offer you a simple but profound replacement. When you notice the word should arising, whether directed at yourself, at others, at circumstances, simply replace it, gently and without force, with the word is. Not this should not have happened, but this is what happened. Not I should be further along, but this is where I am. Not they should have behaved differently, but this is how they behaved. The shift from should to is does not eliminate your feelings about the situation. It does not invalidate your preferences or your values. It simply removes the layer of argument with reality. And without that argument, without that constant internal friction, something extraordinary becomes available. Clarity. And from clarity, genuine choice. Here is a practice to carry this into the body. The next time you feel resistance rising, that tightening, that internal argument with how things are, place both feet flat on the floor. Feel the ground beneath you. Solid, real, undeniable. Take a breath using the 4-2-4 rhythm, and on the exhale, silently say one word. One ancient, simple, quietly revolutionary word. Yes. Not yes, meaning I am happy about this. Not yes, meaning this is what I would have chosen. Yes, meaning I see it. I am not turning away from it. I am here with it as it is. This is thusness. This is tathata. This is the farmer sitting in the afternoon light, watching the soldiers leave, holding his son's hand, making no final judgment about what any of it means. This is the most mature form of courage available to a human being. Not the courage to fight, the courage to remain open. To say yes to the present moment exactly as it is, and to trust that from this place of clear seeing, you can respond with far more wisdom than you ever could from inside resistance. The peace of this lesson has texture. It is not the peace of someone who has checked out of life. It is the peace of someone who has finally stopped arguing with it. Someone who has realized that reality, in every moment, is simply doing what reality does, and that their response to it is the one thing that truly, genuinely belongs to them. You are learning to respond rather than react, to see rather than judge, to meet life with open hands rather than closed fists. And this changes everything. But here is what I want to gently prepare you for as we move into the next lesson. All of this, the releasing, the breathing, the watching, the accepting, it all requires one thing that our modern world is deeply, almost pathologically uncomfortable with: silence. Not the silence of an empty room, but the silence inside. The fertile, living, intelligent quiet that lives in the space between thoughts. The space we are so afraid of that we fill every possible moment with noise, with screens, with sound, with anything that will prevent us from having to sit inside it. In the next lesson, we will discover why that silence is not empty at all, and why the most important voice you will ever hear can only be heard when everything else has finally stopped. Lesson 6. The fertile empty. You said yes, perhaps not perfectly, perhaps not with complete surrender. But somewhere in the last lesson, something in you softened toward reality, toward the present moment as it actually is, rather than the version your mind insists it should be. And that softening, however small, however tentative, is not a minor thing. It is the beginning of a different kind of life. But I want to draw your attention to something you may not have noticed yet. Something that has been quietly present throughout this entire journey, woven between every story, every breath, every moment of reflection. The pauses, the moments between one thought and the next, the space after the exhale before the inhale arrives, the silence that follows a truth when it lands so cleanly that the mind, for just a moment, has nothing to add. You have been touching these spaces throughout our time together. Brief, gentle contacts with something that lives beneath the noise. And now it is time to go there fully. Because here is what no one tells you about the mind that is always full, always stimulated, always consuming, producing, scrolling, planning, reacting. It is not a productive mind. It is an exhausted one, pretending to be productive. And the thing it is most exhausted by is the very thing it cannot stop doing, filling every available space with content, with noise, with the relentless, compulsive avoidance of the one thing that frightens the modern mind most deeply: silence. Not the silence of absence, not the silence of boredom or emptiness or having nothing left to say. The silence of arrival, of presence, of a mind that has finally stopped running and simply stands still long enough to see where it actually is. There is a famous teaching in the Zen tradition. A scholar came to visit the master Kinhin. The scholar was a learned man, full of theories and opinions and frameworks for understanding the nature of mind and reality. He had read all the texts. He had debated all the philosophers. He came to Kinhin not truly as a student, but as someone seeking confirmation of what he already believed. Kinhin received him graciously and offered tea. He began to pour. The scholar held out his cup. Kinhin poured the tea until the cup was full, and then he kept pouring. The tea overflowed the cup. It spilled across the table, onto the floor, into the scholar's lap. The scholar leaped back, startled. He looked at the master with confusion and alarm. Kinhin set the teapot down calmly. "You are like this cup," he said, "already full. How can I show you anything until you first empty yourself?" The scholar fell silent. Perhaps for the first time in years. The room around them was quiet. Afternoon light came through a paper screen in soft, diffused columns. The smell of tea, green and clean and slightly bitter, hung in the still air. A bird called once from somewhere in the garden and then was quiet again. The scholar sat with his wet robes and his suddenly uncertain certainty. And in that moment of genuine emptiness, of not knowing, of having his fullness interrupted, something real became possible. Something that all his knowledge had been preventing without his awareness. Learning. True learning. Not the adding of more information to an already crowded vessel, but the kind of understanding that can only arise when there is space for it to land. This is what the empty cup teaches. The cup's usefulness is not in the porcelain, it is not in the craftsmanship or the glaze or the careful firing. The cup is useful because of the space inside it. Remove the emptiness and you have a solid block of clay. Beautiful, perhaps, but useless for the one thing a cup is meant to do: hold something. And your mind, your awareness, your inner life, it works the same way. The thoughts, the plans, the constant internal monologue. These are not the source of your intelligence. They are the content that moves through it. The intelligence itself, the intuition, the deep knowing, the sudden clarity that arrives not when you are thinking hardest, but when you have, for a moment, stopped, that lives in the empty space. And we have become terrified of that space. Think about your own relationship with silence. When was the last time you sat without a screen, without music, without a podcast or a phone or something playing in the background, and simply allowed yourself to be in the quiet? Not meditating, not practicing anything, simply being quiet. For most people in the modern world, this question produces a kind of low-level anxiety just in the asking of it. Because silence, real interior silence, has become associated with unproductivity, with wasting time, with the dangerous possibility of feeling something that the noise was keeping at bay. We have built an entire civilization of distraction, and we call it progress. I want you to try something now. Not for long. Just a moment. Let everything you have heard in this lesson so far simply rest in you without your needing to process it, evaluate it, or decide what to do with it. Let there be nothing required of you for the next few breaths except your presence. No understanding needed, no insight required, no correct response to reach for. Just you, here, breathing. In the quiet, breathe in slowly. Let the breath settle, and then simply rest in the exhale. In the space after the exhale, where nothing is happening yet, where the next breath has not been called for, where for just this moment there is nothing but presence and silence and the bare fact of being alive. Stay there as long as it holds naturally. And when the next breath comes, let it come. That space you just touched. Even if it was only a fraction of a second, even if the mind rushed in immediately to comment on it or name it or wonder if you were doing it correctly, that space is real. It exists inside you always, not as something you create, but as something you uncover when the noise finally parts. This is where intuition lives, not in the loud voice that argues and insists and demands, in the quiet voice that speaks only when everything else has stopped, the voice that knows things the thinking mind cannot figure out, the voice that has always known, the voice you have been talking over for years without realizing it. The Zen tradition understands this in its very architecture. Every formal Zen space, the meditation hall, the tea room, the garden, is designed not to fill the practitioner but to empty them. Wide open spaces, carefully arranged simplicity. The deliberate removal of excess so that what remains can finally be experienced fully. Ma is the Japanese concept for this. Negative space, the pause between notes that makes music music rather than noise, the space between words that gives language its meaning, the gap between breaths that makes breathing a living rhythm rather than a mechanical function. Without the space, there is only sound. With the space, there is music. You are learning to be music. Here is a practice to cultivate this fertile emptiness in your daily life. Once a day, for just 2 minutes, create a gap, not a meditation, not a breathing exercise. Simply a gap. Put down whatever you are holding. Go nowhere. Seek nothing. Produce nothing. Simply be a cup that is deliberately, consciously, courageously empty. If thoughts arrive, and they will, use the labeling practice from Lesson 4. Name them gently, and return to the quiet. If restlessness arrives, and it will, use the 4-2-4 breath from Lesson 2, and return to the quiet. If the mind insists there is something more important you should be doing, recall the farmer from Lesson 5. Notice that judgment, and return to the quiet. 2 minutes. Every day. Not because 2 minutes will transform your life, but because 2 minutes of genuine inner silence, practiced consistently, begins to teach your mind that the quiet is safe, that nothing terrible lives in it, that on the other side of the discomfort of stillness is not emptiness but fullness. A fullness quieter and more nourishing than anything the noise has ever given you. The peace available in this space is unlike anything we have touched so far. It is not the peace of having resolved something. It is not the peace of having understood something. It is not even the peace of having released something. It is simpler than all of that. It is the peace of a cup that is clean and empty and ready. That has space for whatever life chooses to pour into it next. That does not need to be anything other than what it is. Open, present, still. You are that cup now. And as we move toward the final lesson of this journey, I want you to carry that openness with you. Because what comes next is not about the interior life alone. It is about how you move through the world, how you walk from one room to the next, how you make your tea in the morning, how you wash your hands, how you sit down and stand up and open a door. The final lesson asks whether it is possible to bring everything we have discovered, the presence, the breath, the watching, the accepting, the silence, all of it, into the simplest physical movements of an ordinary day. And the answer, as a group of Zen monks discovered centuries ago, is yes, one step at a time. Lesson 7. The sacred pace. You are empty now, not depleted, not hollow, empty in the way the cup is empty, clean, open, ready. 6 lessons have moved through you like water through a landscape, quietly reshaping the terrain without force, without drama, without anything being broken. You have put down stories that were never yours to carry forever. You have found a bridge made of breath. You have learned to release your grip on what was never yours to control. You have discovered the watcher who was always watching. You have said yes to reality as it is, and you have touched the fertile silence that lives beneath all the noise. This is not a small journey. What you have done here, in this quiet and willing way, takes tremendous courage, even when it looks from the outside like simply sitting still. And now we arrive at the final lesson, the one that brings everything home, not to a cushion, not to a meditation room, not to any special space set apart from ordinary life. Home to the place where your life is actually happening, in the movement, in the walking, in the ordinary, unremarkable, endlessly repeated physical moments that make up the texture of a human day. Because here is the truth that most seekers discover only after searching everywhere else first. The peace you have been cultivating throughout this journey is not something that lives only in stillness. It is not a fragile flame that exists only when everything is quiet and comfortable and arranged just so. It is something you can carry into motion, into the body, into the world. But first, we must look honestly at what most of us do with our bodies when we move through the world. We rush, not always dramatically, not always with obvious urgency. But there is a quality to the way the modern person moves that, if you observe it carefully, reveals everything about the relationship between that person and the present moment. We walk to the kitchen already thinking about what comes after the kitchen. We drive to work already composing the conversation we will have when we arrive. We move through our mornings on a kind of automatic forward lean, the body going through its motions while the mind is already 3 steps ahead, already at the destination, already past the moment that is actually happening. We treat our physical movements as obstacles between where we are and where we want to be, and in doing so, we miss the entire journey. This is not a modern problem entirely. It is a deeply human one. But the modern world has accelerated it to a degree that would have been unrecognizable to our ancestors. The speed of everything, the instant response, the relentless optimization of time has taught us to treat the present moment as a mere corridor, a passageway to somewhere more important. But here is the question this lesson asks. If you cannot be present here, walking from the car to the front door, standing at the kettle while the water boils, lifting a cup to your lips, if you cannot find the present moment in these simple acts, what makes you believe you will find it when you arrive at the more important place? When the holiday begins, when the project is finished, when the situation improves. The present moment is not waiting for you at the destination. It is only ever here, in the step you are taking right now. There is a practice in the Zen tradition called Kinhin, walking meditation. It is done between periods of seated practice, but in many monasteries it is considered equally important, equally sacred, equally capable of producing clarity as any time spent on the cushion. The form is simple, almost absurdly so. You walk, slowly, with complete attention, each foot rising, moving, placing itself on the ground with full awareness. Each breath coordinated with each step. Each moment of movement met as though it were the only moment that has ever existed or ever will. But behind this simplicity is a teaching that a young monk in ancient Japan discovered in a way that changed the trajectory of his practice entirely. His name was Tanzan, and he was known in his monastery for his speed, not a quality most associated with monastic life. But Tanzan moved through everything quickly. He ate quickly. He worked quickly. He walked between the meditation hall and the sleeping quarters in the shortest possible time, his mind always slightly ahead of his body, already at the next thing before the current thing had finished. His teacher watched this for several months without comment. Then, one morning, Tanzan was walking quickly across the monastery courtyard, his mind already in the meditation hall, already composing his posture, already preparing his practice. The stones of the courtyard were cold and damp from overnight rain. A thin mist moved low across the garden. Somewhere behind the wall, a temple bell had just finished sounding, its tone still dissolving into the morning air. Tanzan noticed none of this. His teacher stepped into his path. Tanzan nearly walked into him and stopped abruptly. "Where are you going?" the teacher asked. "To the meditation hall," Tanzan said, slightly surprised. "To practice." The teacher was quiet for a moment. He looked down at the courtyard stones, wet, grey, each one distinct. "And where are you now?" he asked. Tanzan looked around. At the courtyard, at the mist, at the bell tower still trembling faintly from the last ring, at the stones beneath his feet, each one present and particular and completely real. He had no answer. The teacher nodded slowly, as though the silence itself were sufficient. "You have been practicing in the hall for 2 years," he said. "But you have never once walked across this courtyard." He turned and walked away, slowly, each step deliberate, each footfall a complete arrival. Tanzan stood in the mist for a long time. Then he turned around and walked back the way he had come, slowly. For the first time, he arrived at the meditation hall many minutes later than usual, but he arrived differently. He arrived having already been practicing for the entire length of the courtyard. He arrived having understood something he had been stepping over for 2 years. The destination is in every step, or it is nowhere. Take a moment now to feel your own body, the weight of it, the particular way it is supported right now by whatever is beneath you, the subtle aliveness of it, the warmth in the hands, the gentle rise and fall of the chest. This body has been moving through the world for your entire life, and for most of that time the mind has been treating it as a vehicle, a means of transport between thoughts. What would it feel like to inhabit it fully? Not as a project or a practice, but as a homecoming. The tea ceremony in Zen tradition understands this completely. Chado, the way of tea, is built on a principle so simple it sounds almost too small to carry the weight it actually holds. Every action, completely attended to, is sacred. The lifting of the kettle, the pouring of the water, the way the steam rises in the cool air of the tea room, the sound of water meeting the bowl, the weight of the cup in both hands, the temperature of it against the palms. None of this is preparation for something more important. This is the important thing. This is the practice. This is where awakening either happens or does not happen. In the ordinary, in the unremarkable, in the 10,000 small movements that make up a human life. The Zen master Senno Rikyu, the great architect of the tea ceremony, was once asked what the secret of the tea ceremony was. He thought for a moment and then replied, "Make a good bowl of tea. Make the charcoal so the water boils. Arrange the flowers as they are in the field. Suggest coolness in summer and warmth in winter. Do everything ahead of time. Prepare for rain. Give those with whom you find yourself every consideration." A student was frustrated. "But master," he said, "I already know all of this." Rikyu looked at him steadily. "Then show me a person who can do it," he said, "and I will become their student." Knowing is not the same as living it. And living it means bringing your full presence to the simplest acts. Not occasionally, not when it is convenient, but as a commitment to the present moment as the only place where life is actually occurring. Here is the practice. Today, choose one ordinary action you perform every single day. It might be making your morning tea or coffee. It might be walking from your car to your front door. It might be washing your hands or making your bed or standing at the window for a moment before the day begins. Choose one action. And for the next 7 days, give it everything, not effort. Presence. Feel every part of it. The temperature, the texture, the weight, the sound, the smell. The precise quality of the moment as it is actually occurring, rather than as a backdrop to wherever your mind wants to be. Breathe through it using the 4-2-4 rhythm if the mind wanders. And if it wanders anyway, which it will, simply return. Without frustration, without judgment, with the same gentle, unhurried quality that the older monk brought to every step across the monastery courtyard. Each return is a practice. Each return is a small awakening. You do not need to do this with every action, just one, because one action practiced with complete presence will begin to infect the others, slowly, quietly, the way light comes into a room, not all at once, but gradually, as the morning moves. The peace of this lesson is embodied. It lives in the body, in the step, in the lifted cup, in the hand on the door handle, in the particular weight of this moment, fully inhabited. It is the peace of someone who has finally stopped rushing toward their life and started living inside it. And now, as we prepare to close this journey together, there is one final thing remaining, not another lesson, not another concept to hold. Something simpler and more profound than all of it. A ritual of completion. A way of gathering everything you have carried through these 7 gates and making a conscious choice about what to keep, what to release, and what kind of person you want to walk forward as when you step back into the world. The backpack is nearly empty now, and what we put back in, we choose deliberately. That is where we are going next. The lasting peace. We have walked a long way together, through 7 gates, across 7 landscapes, each one asking something of you. Each one inviting you to put something down, to see something more clearly, to meet yourself and your life with a little more honesty, a little more compassion, a little more grace. You came in carrying something. Most people do. The weight of stories that had already ended, the tightness of a breath that had forgotten how to be full, the exhaustion of trying to control what was never yours to control, the noise of a mind that had never been shown how to simply watch without becoming. And now, here you are. Take a moment to feel the difference, not with your thoughts, with your body, with the quality of your breath, with the particular texture of this moment compared to the one in which we began. Something has shifted. even if you cannot name it precisely. Even if the mind wants to qualify it or question it or measure it against some standard of how much you should have changed by now, it has shifted. Now I want to guide you through one final practice, a ritual of completion, of conscious choosing, of deliberate release. Close your eyes if you are able, or let your gaze soften toward the floor. Imagine you are holding a backpack. Not metaphorically. Feel the weight of it in your hands, the worn straps, the familiar heaviness of it. This is the backpack you have been carrying, perhaps for years, without fully knowing everything inside it. Now, slowly, open it, and one by one, reach inside and take out the stones. The stone of a story you have been telling yourself that is no longer true. Feel its weight. Acknowledge it, and then place it gently on the ground beside you. You do not need it where you are going. The stone of guilt over something that cannot be changed. Heavy, smooth from being handled so often. Set it down. The stone of fear about something that has not happened yet and may never happen. Set it down. The stone of someone else's opinion that you have been carrying as though it were your own truth. Set it down. Take your time. There is no rush here. This is the most important unpacking you will ever do. And when the backpack is empty, when you can feel the lightness of it, notice what remains. Not nothing. Space. Clean, open, breathable space. Now, imagine that space filling, not with more weight, but with light. Quiet, steady, unhurried light. The same light that has been inside you throughout this entire journey, waiting beneath the stories and the noise and the stones. This is your natural state, not an achievement, not a reward for doing the practice correctly. Your nature. The way water is naturally clear when nothing is stirring it. You did not create this peace tonight. You uncovered it. And because it is yours by nature, it cannot be taken from you. It can be forgotten, but it can always be remembered again. This is the final promise I want to leave with you. Tomorrow the world will be noisy again. The inbox will fill. The traffic will sit. The people around you will be hurrying and worrying and carrying their own stones. And there will be moments when you feel the old weight beginning to gather again. In those moments, you do not need to return to the beginning. You only need to remember one thing: the breath, just the breath. 4 counts in, 2 in stillness, 4 counts releasing. And from the breath, everything else we discovered here will follow, naturally, like light through a window that has been left open. You know the way home now. You have always known it. You simply have the directions more clearly now. Before we part, I want to ask you one thing. In the comments below this video, will you share one stone you decided to leave behind today? Not because anyone needs to evaluate it or respond to it, but because naming it makes the release real. Because someone else, listening from somewhere in the world, carrying their own version of that same stone, needs to know they are not alone in setting it down. Write the stone, leave it in the comments, and let it stay there. May you walk back into your life with a lighter step. May the breath always find you when the noise gets loud. May you remember, in the difficult moments, that you are the sky and not the storm. May the stories you carry from this day forward be ones you have chosen with open eyes. May you find the sacred in the ordinary, in the cup of tea, in the footstep, in the quiet moment between one breath and the next. May you be steady. May you be clear. May you be exactly, fully, peacefully yourself. You are not broken. You never were. You were simply carrying too much. Walk lightly now. May you walk with a light heart and a clear mind. Until we meet again in the stillness.